Students, now we will discuss about the characteristic features of developed countries. All the developed countries will have higher per capita income when compared to developing countries. There are 5 important characteristic features which we will discuss now, today. The first one is higher per capita income. Higher per capita income is the foremost characteristic features of developed countries. Here data has been given and this data belongs to 2012 at market prices and this has been shown in dollars. See, Switzerland. The per capita income of Switzerland at exchange rate basis, foreign exchange rate basis, is $82,730, which is 54 times than that of India. India's per capita income. So it is 54 times higher than that of India's per capita income. You can imagine now. This is a developed country and the feature of developed countries, as I told you, is higher per capita. And the per capita income of Switzerland on PPP basis is $56,207, which is 15 times higher than, greater than India's power purchasing parity per capita. Next, second one is USA. The USA is also a developed country. The per capita income of USA on exchange rate basis is $50,120, which is 33 times greater than India's per capita income. And on purchase power parity, the per capita income of USA is $50,610, which is 13 times than that of India's per capita. Next, Japan. Japan's per capita income on exchange rate basis is $47,870, and on the basis of PPP, purchasing power parity, 36,219 is the per capita income of Japan in dollars. China has the per capita income of $5,740 on exchange rate basis, which is 4 times greater than that of India. China is the most populous country. Even then, the per capita income of China is 4 times greater than that of India's per capita income. And on the basis of PPP, the per capita income of China is $9,210, which is 2.4 times greater than that of India. Now, India's per capita income is $1,530 on exchange rate basis, and on PPP basis, 3,840 is the per capita income of India, which is very low. Population which depends on agriculture is shown here. Sectoral contribution to GDP in those countries is shown here. Agricultural contribution to GDP, industrial contribution to GDP, and service contribution to GDP in developed countries, 3 developed countries, and 2 developing countries. This table shows clearly that non-agricultural sector dominates in developed countries. Take for example UK. In UK, agricultural population is only 1.2% of the total population. Industrial sector contributes 20.5% to the GDP in UK, whereas 78.8% of the income will be from the service sector in the GDP. Next one is America. It is also a developed country. Only 1.6% of the population depends on agriculture, and the contribution of agriculture sector to the GDP of USA is only 1.3%, very less, and the industrial sector's contribution to GDP is 21.0%, and the service sector's contribution to GDP in USA is 77.7%. And the third country, developed country, is Japan. The agricultural population constitutes only 3.7%, The population which depends on agriculture in Japan is only 3.7%, and the contribution of agriculture sector to GDP is only 1.2%, very less. And the industrial contribution to GDP is 25.6%. The contribution of territorial sector or service sector into the GDP is 73.2% in Japan. So, if you go through the data, you will come to know that the contribution of agriculture sector to the GDP is very less. See here, 0.7% in the case of UK, 1.3% in the case of USA, and 1.2% in the case of Japan. Very less percent of income is contributed from the agriculture sector to the GDP of those developed countries. Whereas the contribution of service sector, territory sector is very big. Take for example, the service sector's contribution of UK is 78%, that of USA is 77.7%, that of Japan is 73.2%. So it is very high, it is very low. Now coming to the developing countries, China's population, total population in China, 36.7% of the population depends on agriculture, and the contribution of agriculture to GDP, agriculture sector to GDP is 10.1% in China, higher than that of the developed countries. In developed countries it was less than 2%. It was less than 2%. Now see here, the China's contribution to GDP so far as agriculture sector is concerned is 10.1%, and contribution of industrial sector of China to GDP is 45.3%, and the contribution of territory sector to the GDP is 44.6%. So it is low when compared to developed countries, and it is very high. It means agriculture sector contributes more in developing countries, and service sector contributes less when compared to developed countries. So also is the case of India. 51.5% or 51.1% of the population depends on agriculture in India. So the agricultural contribution to GDP of India is 18%. It is high when compared to developed countries. Next, the contribution of industrial sector to GDP in India is 31.9%, and the contribution of territory sector to GDP in India is 50.1%. When compared to other countries, the contribution of agriculture sector to GDP is high in developing countries, both in China as well as India. See here, it is 10.1% in China and 18.0% in India. So the agriculture contribution is more. At the same time, the population which depends on agriculture sector in developing countries like China and India are more, 36.7% in the case of China and 51.1% in the case of India. At the same time, the contribution of territory sector will be low. See here, 44.6%, 50.1%. It is very low when compared to developed countries. There is no depth of capital and technology in developed countries. See here, why this happens so? Because in developed countries, the saving will be very high. Banking system is good, and financial institutions as well as banking institutions collect and be instrumental to gather the savings. So the savings in developed countries will be more. As the savings will be more, capital formation will be more, and the investment will be high in developed countries. So abundance of capital and technology is there. See, data has been given. The data with regard to 1990 and 2012 years has been given. of both the developed and developing countries. See, for example, Japan. In Japan, the capital formation to the GDP percentage was 33. It decreased to 19.9% in 2012. Decreased. With the passage of time, the capital formation of all these developed countries is decreasing. I will tell you. Next, Germany. In Germany, the capital formation was 24% of the GDP in 1990, which decreased to 17.2% in 2012. And in UK, the capital formation was 20% in 1990. In 1990, the capital formation of USA was 18%. It decreased to 14.9%. In all these developed countries, the capital formation decreased. Why? Because there was a slowdown in the economy. There was a recession in all the developed countries, America as well as European countries. So, because of the economic slowdown, the capital formation decreased over this period from 1990 to 2012. The recession in America was in 2008, and it spread to other countries. Whereas in the case of developing countries like China and India, China's contribution to the GDP, in the case of China, the capital formation was 35% to the GDP, 48.4%. So the capital formation of China increased from 35% to 48.4% from 1990 to 2012. It increased, unlike the case of the developed countries. So also India, the capital formation of India in 1990 was 24% of GDP. It increased to 35.6% in 2012. So in the case of India also, the capital formation increased over the set period, because India and China, developing countries, were not so affected in the economic slowdown as the developed countries were affected. The fourth characteristic feature of developed country is low, unlike in the developing countries. See here, the unemployment in developed countries is due to the shortage of effective demand. In developed countries, the unemployment is due to the shortage of effective demand, mismatch between the demand and supply. And the type of unemployment in developed countries is cyclical or frictional. Cyclical means here the mismatch between the demand and supply of the people in the economy. It is due to effective demand. And frictional unemployment means it is for short period, for the transitional period. A person leaves this job and joins in another job. For that period, a small period, there will be unemployment for him. He will be unemployed. That type of unemployment is known as frictional unemployment. Next, unemployment in UDCs, whereas in underdeveloped countries or developing countries, the unemployment is of different type. For example, in India and other developing countries, the unemployment is due to deficiency of capital. There is no money in the hands of the people, so they can't do business. They can't do any business, either it may be small or big. Due to deficiency of capital, unemployment will be there. And here the type of unemployment in developing countries is open unemployment, and disguised unemployment in agriculture sector. Disguised unemployment means the marginal returns will be zero. Means what? Particularly in agriculture sector in India and other developing countries, disguised unemployment will be there. disguised unemployment means where there needs to work 10 laborers, there will be more than 10 laborers will be working, and those additional or more laborers are known as disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment and open unemployment are the features of underdeveloped countries. See, the expenditure of the developed countries on education, health, training, skill formation is very high when compared to the developing countries. See the data here, you can understand. Country, life expectancy, adult literacy and HDI ranking has been given here, and this is the data of 2013. In Canada, the life expectancy is 81.1 years and the adult literacy there is 99%, and in the HDI ranking, world HDI ranking, it stands at 8th rank, and in USA the life expectancy is 78.7%, 7 years, 78.7 years, and adult literacy in USA is 99%. In all the developed countries, the adult literacy is 99%, and the HDI ranking of USA is 5th rank. Next, Japan. The life expectancy in Japan is 83.6%, 6 years, and the HDI ranking, world HDI ranking is 17. And coming to France, the life expectancy is 81.7 years and the adult literacy is 99%. In the world HDI ranking, it stands at 20th rank. And UK, the life expectancy in UK is 80.3 years, the adult literacy rate is 99%, and it stands at 14th rank in the world HDI ranking. Now coming to the developing countries like China and India, China's life expectancy is 73.7 years and the adult literacy rate in China is 95.1 and it stands at 91. The adult literacy rate in India is 34.04% and the HDI ranking is 135. So you can better understand that the developing countries have the better social system. Dear students, today we are going to discuss about the characteristic features of developing countries with special reference to India, because India is also being considered as a developing country. Now, first we will learn what are the definitions of the developing countries. The two important definitions are there in your syllabus. One is given by the UNO. Here, according to the UNO, all those countries which have real per capita income less than a quarter of the per capita income of US are developing countries. I again tell you, according to the UNO, the countries which have real per capita income less than a quarter of the per capita income of US are known as developing countries. So, a comparison with the real per capita income of the developing countries with the per capita income of US is done here. If the per capita income of any country is less than a quarter of the per capita income of US, then it is known as a developing country according to UNO. According to the Planning Commission of India, the definition of a developing country is A developing country is characterized by the existence of unutilized and underutilized manpower and unexploited natural resources. So, two things have been taken into consideration here in the definition of developing countries given by the Planning Commission. One is unutilized or underutilized manpower, and the second one is unutilized or unexploited natural resources. If these two factors are there in any country, that country is known as a developing country. The first characteristic of any developing country is low per capita income. So, a data has been given here, and the data belongs to 2011. And here the first column shows the group of the country, and here the per capita income on the basis of exchange rate and on the basis of power purchasing parity, PPP basis. See here, low income group countries comes under this category, whose per capita income on exchange rate basis is $583 and on PPP basis $1,387. And the second group is low middle income group countries. And if the per capita income on exchange rate basis is $1,877 and on PPP basis $3,912, then it is known as a low middle income country. Then the third one is upper middle income country. If the range is between this, that is $6,987 on exchange rate basis and $10,740 on PPP basis, then that is known as upper middle income country. Next, high income countries. The per capita income of high income countries will be around $37,594 on exchange rate basis, and on PPP basis it is $37,760. Now coming to the per capita income of developing countries like China and India. The per capita income of China on exchange rate basis is $5,740 and on PPP basis is $9,210. And the per capita income of India on exchange rate basis is $1,530 and on PPP basis is $3,840. Now this table shows clearly that both on exchange rate basis as well as the PPP basis, the per capita income of developing countries is far below the per capita income of developed countries. See here, the per capita income of India is $1,530 only, where the per capita income of high income group countries is $37,594. So a great variation is there. Dear students, the second important characteristic features of the developing country is scarcity of capital. The developing countries are also known as capital poor countries. Here a table is shown. In the table we have given the data with regard to the percentage of gross capital formation and gross domestic savings to the GDP. It is the percentage of GCF, gross capital formation, and GDS, gross domestic savings to GDP. And the data is for the period 1990 and 2012. See here, two group of countries have been shown here for comparison. The developed countries like USA, UK, Japan and Germany, and developing countries like China and India. There is an enormous difference between the GCF and GDS of these two group of countries. See, number one, USA. The percentage of GCF to GDP is 18 in 1990. It decreased to 14.9 in 2012. That means the percentage of gross capital formation of USA was 18% in 1990. It decreased to 14.9% in 2012. The percentage of gross capital formation of UK in 1990 was 20 and it further decreased to 14.5% in 2012. Japan, with regard to Japan, the GCF percentage in 1990 was 33. It decreased to 19.5% in 2012. Germany, with regard to Germany, the GCF percentage was 24 in 1990 and it decreased to 17.2%. So all the four countries GCF decreased over the period of time from 1990 to 2012 because there was an economic slowdown in 2008. They faced the economic slowdown in 2008. The gross domestic savings of the developed countries also decreased from 1990 to 2012 due to the economic slowdown. Take for example USA. The GDS percentage was 16 in 1990 and it decreased to 11.1 in 2012. And with regard to UK, the GDS percent was 18 and it decreased to 12.1 in 2012. And Japan, the GDS of Japan in 1990 was 34%. It decreased to 19% in 2012. Germany, the GDS of Germany in 1990 was 24%. It decreased to 22.9%. So GDS also, gross domestic savings also decreased. As the GDS decreased, capital formation also decreased because both are linked to each other. Gross domestic savings and gross capital formation are linked. If saving is good, then capital formation will be high. So as gross domestic savings decreased from 1990 to 2012 of the developed countries, the gross capital formation also decreased for the same period. But this is not the case with regard to the developing countries. See, two countries as an example has been given here in the table. China, the GCF percentage of China to GDP in 1990 was 35. It increased, not decreased, increased. It increased to 48% from 34.5% to 48.4%. So far as GCF is concerned, gross capital formation. The gross capital formation of China increased from 35 in 1990 to 48.4% in 2012. So also the GDS had increased. GDS in 1990 of China was 38%. It increased to 52.5% in 2012. And with regard to the case of India, in 1990 the gross capital formation was 24%. It increased to 35.6%. Increased to 35.6% in 2012. So also in the same manner the GDS, gross domestic savings, increased from 23 in 1990 to 27.9 in 2012. This table shows that the developing countries were not affected during the economic slowdown as the developed countries affected. And there is a connection between gross domestic savings and gross capital formation. If gross domestic savings are good, then gross capital formation will automatically be high. The third characteristic features of developing countries are demographic characteristics. The developing countries are well known for their heavy population. There will be population explosion in developing countries like India. There will be heavy population. Due to heavy population or population explosion or steady development in population, steady growth of population is known as population explosion. Due to population explosion, the problems like unemployment will emerge. Unemployment problem will be very high. And automatically, when there is unemployment, poverty level will be high. They are interconnected. When population is more, unemployment will be more. When unemployment is there, poverty will automatically be high. So these are interlinked. The population of India in 2011 was 1,210 millions and it constituted 17% of the world population. Now, as per one estimate, in 2015, the population of India was 1,278 millions. Now, the fourth important characteristic feature of developing country is unemployment. Rampant unemployment was seen in developing countries. There is widespread unemployment in developing countries, and the type of unemployment is open unemployment, and it may be due to migration. The population migrate from rural areas to urban areas, from agricultural sector to industrial sector. If the industrial sector got a slowdown, economic slowdown, then unemployment problem will further severe. Next, there will be disguised unemployment in agriculture sector. Disguised unemployment means the marginal returns of the last additional units of labor will be zero. Disguised unemployment means the marginal returns of the additional units of labor are zero. And you can say in this sense also, you can say that where there is a need of 10 laborers, you have engaged 15 laborers. 5 laborers are disguised unemployed. So there is disguised unemployment in agriculture sector in India and developing countries. And as per one estimate, 82 million people are unemployed by the end of 11th 5-year plan, that is 2012. So 82 million people in India were unemployed in 2012. It is a great number. So unemployment problem is a persistent one in developing countries, and many theories came forward to solve it. Now, the fifth characteristic feature of developing country is predominance of agriculture. There will be domination of agriculture sector. The people who depend on agriculture sector will be more, and the contribution to the GDP from agriculture sector will be high. See here, the developing countries are agrarian in character. Generally, all the developing countries are agrarian in character. That means that most of the population, more than half of the population, will be depending on the agriculture sector. And the agriculture sector will not be so advanced because there will be dualism, economic dualism. The agriculture sector will also not be so advanced. There will be economic dualism. Backward methods of production will be used in agriculture sector, like India. And the agriculture produce will be low because of that. Backward methods of production are being used in developing countries. That's why the agriculture production will be low. And all these developing countries will have labor intensive methods of production. Labor intensive methods of production will be used in the developing countries because population will be high, and the major part of the population will depend on agriculture. So as more labor force is there, they use the agricultural land as the occupation, as their occupation. So labor intensive methods of production will be used. Lesser use of modern technology will be there. Lesser use of modern technology will be there. Modern technology will not be used by the farmers and other sectors in developing countries. Fragmentation of land and small land, that is small landholding. Fragmentation of land or small land holdings will be there in developing countries because population is more, they depend on agriculture, land. So as the population increases, according to the law of inheritance, they will inherit the land and the land will be fragmented. Small land holdings will be there. Small land holdings will not give any economic remuneration. The small land holdings will not give you any benefits because those advanced methods of production can't be used in uneconomic land holdings. The land holdings will be uneconomic due to fragmentation of land. And one more characteristic is low marketable surplus. The yield that a farmer will sell in the market will be low after deducting the cost. That is known as marketable surplus. There will be low marketable surplus. The remuneration that a farmer will get after selling his produce after deducting the cost in the form of marketable surplus is low. When it is low, the income of the farmers will be low and he will be a poor person. And according to one survey, 54.6% of the population depends on agriculture sector in 2013. 54.6% of the population of India depends on agriculture sector in 2013. And the contribution from agriculture sector to the GDP was only 13.9% in 2013. This is very high. The contribution from agriculture sector to the GDP of developing countries will be high because they depend on agriculture. Their contribution will be more when compared to developed countries. Another important feature of developing countries is high incidence of poverty. There will be high poverty level. The poverty level will be high in developing countries. And there will be prevalence of mass poverty, you can see. There is evident poverty. You can see the poverty all along. It is not a disguised one. In all the developing countries, poverty is, in all the developing countries, there will be mass poverty. And ill health, malnutrition and ill health due to poverty is evident in all the developing countries. There will be illiteracy. Poor people can't avail the facilities, educational facilities provided by the government as they have to go for work and attend the work. And there will be low level of income due to unemployment and poverty. The income level is low. Because of that, they will become poor. And the per capita income will be low because their per capita income is low, and because there is a great number of people who are poor, there will be income inequalities. Accumulation of wealth will be there. Next, income inequalities, that leads to income inequalities. Rich people will become richer and poor people will become poorer. There will be Adanis and Ambanis and there will be poor people on the footpaths. So there will be income inequalities, and all these are the characteristics of developing countries. You can find in developing countries all these things. And on the recommendations of Tendulkar Committee, Planning Commission updated the poverty line definition. It was based on monthly per capita consumption expenditure. Monthly per capita consumption expenditure will be the criteria to decide the BPL, below poverty line. And in rural areas, if 673 rupees are there, then a person will be known as a BPL candidate. If the income of a person is less than 673 rupees in rural areas, then he will be known as a poor person. He will come under BPL, below poverty line, in rural areas. In urban areas, if the income of a person is less than 860 rupees per month, then he will be known as a poor person. Planning Commission updated the data and based the data on the basis of monthly per capita consumption expenditure in 2009 and 10. And as per the survey, the population below poverty line in India in 2009 and 10 was 29.8%. You can say that 1/3 of the population of India was below poverty line. The income inequalities between the rich and poor has doubled. And see here, the data is based on the monthly per capita consumption expenditure of the 10% bottom poor people and the richest 10% people, that is top 10% richest people. The monthly per capita expenditure of poorest 10% people in rural areas increased by 11.5% only. And the same, that is monthly per capita consumption expenditure of the poorest people in urban areas rose by 17.2% only. This is the data given in 2011 and 12. The monthly per capita consumption expenditure of the top 10% richest people for the same period increased by 38%. So the increase between the poor and the rich is more than 100%. And it has been observed that income inequalities doubled over the past 20 years, 2 decades. This shows that the income inequalities between the rich and poor in the country is very large, and the income inequalities must be reduced by way of adopting suitable policies by the government. The eighth characteristic feature of developing country is low quality of life. The quality of life will be very low in developing countries, and there are 3 basic indicators which are used to measure the quality of life. Number 1 is real income, number 2 is health, number 3 is education. The level of income indicates the well-being of a person and his life. The standard of life depends on, the quality of life depends on income first. Then health. If he has a good health, then he can work and earn, his income will be high, the demand will be very high, and the economy will flourish. And third one is education. If he has good income and health, then he will have a good education. And the life expectancy in UDCs or developing countries is less when compared to developed countries. See, the life expectancy in developing countries is around 65 years. Whereas in developed countries, the life expectancy is around 75 years approximately. So 10 years gap is there. Next, IMR, infantile mortality rate. This is the death rate of the infants per thousand. So in developing countries, the IMR is 61 per thousand infants, whereas the same in developed countries is 6 per thousand. In characteristic features, the ninth characteristic feature of a developing country is technical backwardness. Labor-intensive techniques of production will be used in developing countries. Labor-intensive production methods will be used in the developing countries, so technical backwardness will be seen there. Another thing is that there will be low level of capital formation. That means capital deficiency will be there. Capital deficiency will be there in developing countries. And the developing countries are further backward or remain backward because of the non-introduction of modern technology. And there will be no social security against unemployment. There will not be any unemployment allowance for the unemployed youth, and there will be no training facilities, proper training facilities, and there will be no good technical education in the country, backward country. So all this constitute to backwardness of the country. All this helps to the backwardness of a country. Next, technically backward economy. This can be all the developing economies, all the developing countries are technically backward countries because of lack of advanced techniques of education, advanced production methods, advanced skill formation, and because of capital deficiency and labor intensive technique methods. Due to all this, the economy will remain backward and it will be hard for the developing countries to come forward and develop. The ninth characteristic feature of a developing country is technical backwardness. There will be labor intensive techniques of production used in the UDCs of developing countries. The population will be high, so the labor intensive production methods will be used in the developing countries, and there will be capital deficiency in the developing countries. Because there is capital deficiency, investment will be less and the economy will not develop rapidly and it remain backward with the growing population. And another thing is that there will be no introduction of modern technological production methods. Modern technology can't be used by is not being used by the developing countries because the human resources are also not fully developed. The education system in developing countries is not well off technically. So modern technological methods of production are not properly being used in developing countries, and no social security measures are there against the unemployed youth, for the unemployed youth. No proper policies for the eradication of poverty, eradication of unemployment are successful in these developing countries. These developing countries generally are changing the policies, strategic policies to fight out unemployment and poverty. And that's why you can say that developing countries are actually technically backward countries. They are technically backward. Characteristic feature of developing country is high density of population. The density of population in the country will be very high because of the high population and because of the large population. The density of population will be very high in the developing countries because of the high population. And the world density of population of 2011 is only 50 square kilometers. The density of population is measured in square kilometers. The average density of population of the world population is 50 per square kilometer, and it was in 2011 data. And India's density of population as per the 2011 data is 382 per square kilometer. See the difference. The world density of population is 50 per square kilometer, whereas the density of population of India is 382 per square kilometer. See the difference. And China's density of population is 145 per square kilometer. It is half that of India. Though China is the first and most populous country in the world, even then the density of population of China is 145 only because it has a larger geographical area. And the density of population of USA is 33 per square kilometer. And that of Canada is 4 per square kilometer. And for Australia, the density of population is 3 per square kilometer. And the 11th characteristic feature of a developing country is dual economy. Dual economy can further be divided into 3 parts. One is technical dualism, number 2 social dualism, number 3 financial dualism. What is dualism? Dualism means here we can see the most advanced and most backward areas factors working side by side. Most advanced techniques of production will be there and most backward techniques of production will be there. This can be seen in the economy. If there is most primitive and advanced sectors are there side by side in the economy, then that economy is known as the dualistic economy or dual economy. There are 3 types of dualism. One is technical dualism, second one is social dualism, third one is financial dualism. In the dualism means in the economy most backward and most advanced sectors will be working side by side. See here, there are 3 types of dualism: technical dualism, social dualism, financial dualism. According to Benjamin Hicks, in developing countries, advanced and primitive sectors, primitive means backward. In developing countries, advanced and primitive sectors exist side by side. If such is the case, then it is known as technical dualism. Advanced sectors will be there where machinery is being used. Primitive sector is also there where backward methods of production are being used. They are side by side existing in the same economy, in the same country. Then it is technical dualism. Second one is social dualism. We said that society is divided into lower and upper parts. In social dualism, the society is divided into upper and lower parts. Then it is known as social dualism. Upper class, lower class in the society. Such a type of society divided into 2 parts is known as social dualism. Next, according to Mint, organized financial markets and small and unorganized financial markets exist in the economy side by side. As this is related to finances, so financial dualism can be seen here. Organized financial markets are also there, working properly in an advanced way. Next, unorganized small financial markets are also there in the economy and they exist side by side. Financial dualism is there. The last important feature of a developing country is price stability. There will not be any price stability in the developing countries and there will be high inflation rate in the economy. The inflation in developing countries or price instability in developing countries will be due to the shortage of essential commodities. Due to the shortage of essential commodities, price instability will be there. And there will be a gap between the consumption and production. That means consumption means demand, production means here supply. When the supply is less and demand is more, then the prices will go up. Inflation will be high. And if there is inflation, the real income will be decrease. If there is inflation, the real income will decrease due to the rising prices. The income will be eaten away by the rising prices. So the actual purchasing power in the hands of the people will be less. Because of the low rate of purchasing power, the standard of life of the people will decrease, which is not good for the economy. In developing countries, the price fluctuation or price instability is evident, whereas in developed countries, price instability will not be there. The prices will rise, but not so high as in developing countries. In all the major countries of the world, developed countries of the world, the prices have not gone so high as in India. See the petrol prices, how they are fluctuating day by day. So there are many factors which leads to inflation. That is not the thing. But high rate of inflation is one of the features of a developing country.